Hello everyone and welcome to Elephant as a Totem. There's actually a really interesting dichotomy between the life path and personality of someone who identifies with a female elephant versus someone who identifies with a male elephant. This video is only going to cover what it means when you identify with a female elephant, which is the case for most people, whether they know it or not. If what you consider your totem is the elephant who's very loving and kind and part of a herd, has all the classic behaviors, takes care of its young, then you're basically identifying with a female elephant. If you are identifying with what you perceive as a lone elephant, then it's probably a male elephant. And again, the behaviors are so different that this video is only going to talk about what it means to identify with the classic elephant, which is the female elephant. If you feel like you identify with a male elephant totem, then it would be best to contact me personally to do a reading for you on that. So, getting started, elephant people have a whole host of six sensory capabilities on which they can rely. The first has to do with the sense of smell. The elephant's trunk is obviously so important. It uses it to push, it uses it to pull, it uses it to eat, it uses it to express affection, to drink. It is so agile, it can pick up a single piece of straw, and yet it's so strong it could knock down a tree. And so the organ that it uses to smell clearly allows it to interact with the entire world. And what this means is that somebody with an elephant totem probably has an ability to be clairolfactory, to have psychic scent. It's a really rare talent, but if somebody's going to have it, it would probably be somebody with something like an elephant totem. And so what that means is that they may experience clairolfaction in a couple of ways. They may just have the sense that a situation stinks, or that something smells fishy. They may not really be able to explain where it's coming from, but the sense is really there. That is usually a clairolfactory experience. Or they may actually smell something tangible when they are around a particular person or in a particular situation. It wouldn't be a smell the person's actually emitting, but someone who is very toxic for them might have a disturbing smell. Someone who's very good for them might smell like freshly baked cookies. It's also situational. I tend to smell formaldehyde or embalming fluid right before I get news that somebody has passed or an important animal in somebody's life has passed, and I just know that's giving me a heads up. So that's kind of an idea of what it means to be clairolfactory. Elephant people also tend to be clairaudient. And this is because elephants actually are able to hear sounds far below the normal spectrum of humans. For a long time we thought elephants might be telepathic because we couldn't understand how these herds were communicating when they were so far away from each other. And what it actually is again, they can produce sounds and hear sounds that are far outside our range. And so this means that elephant people can hear things that other people can't. So if you're an elephant person, it is very important for you to pay attention to audio cues. So if you keep hearing the same song over and over and over again, and it isn't just because it's being played over and over on the radio, or if you wake up in the middle of the night with the notion that somebody particular is calling your name, or if a particular bird call is louder than usual, or if a particular sound really suddenly starts to annoy you, these are probably cues from your guides. I tend to receive guidance through song lyrics. I'm very clairaudient. I will wake up in the middle of the night with a particular lyric in my head, or I'll be shopping and all of a sudden I'll just tune in to the music just long enough to get a song lyric that is very important for me. Now, there's another sense elephants have that scientists have lumped in with hearing, but it isn't exactly hearing. It's more along the lines of clairsentience, which is psychic touch or sensing the environment. Elephants have the ability to detect vibrations in the ground and other areas from a very long distance away. It helps them avoid predators. It helps them know when a storm is coming. So for people who have an elephant totem and are clairsentient, they're going to be the kind of people who will know a great deal about someone after sharing a handshake or a hug. They may find that somebody's touch really makes them uncomfortable for no apparent reason, or vice versa, that somebody just makes them feel so good. And the fact that they're very clairsentient would tell them to pay attention to those cues. Elephant people also really enjoy physical touch. It's another part of being clairsentient in some cases. Also, clairsentience makes you ridiculously sensitive to your environment. I'm also very clairsentient. I'm not an elephant person, but I have a lot of the same qualities. When there is a storm coming or a big natural disaster, I will usually start to feel very, very strange a couple days before. Elephants have actually been known to move out of the way of tsunamis, even though the humans didn't know they were coming. They will move towards a rainstorm miles and miles and miles away because they can feel the vibration, and that tells them that there's water there. Somebody who is clairsentient may become very discomfited for no apparent reason right before a natural disaster strikes. So if you live in tornado country like I do, look out for the elephant people. If they're all running for the hills, you probably should too. It also makes them very sensitive to violence. Elephant people cannot survive in violent areas. Elephant herds will stomp madly when confronted by a predator. And it isn't just to scare off the predator. A lot of it is to communicate to other herds in the area that there is something dangerous here. And elephant people will pick up the echoes of violence if they live too close to it. And so somebody who's an elephant person is just feeling cranky and moody and doesn't know why, afraid, may choose to look to their environment and see what the violence level is like, and they may need to move to maintain peace of mind. Now, elephants have all these wonderful sixth sensory abilities. What they do not have is good vision. Elephants have relatively weak eyesight in comparison with their other senses. In fact, there have been documented cases of elephant herds being led by a member that is actually blind, because the other senses will compensate. So for elephant people, a big part of their journey is learning to stop judging things by how they appear, stop trusting facts or logic, and to instead listen to their gut that tells them that something is wrong, because their eyes will deceive them. The people will be able to see them if they just trust what they are hearing and seeing on a physical, normal level, and not listening to their ESP. The weak vision has another side effect in that it gives elephant people tunnel vision. They will focus on something to the exclusion of all else. Elephants have to look very hard in front of them to be able to see anything at all. It also makes elephant people rather poor problem solvers. They get locked into the notion of doing things one way if they can just figure this thing out, and they don't look at other evidence. And so this also means that they tend to be kind of prone to denial. They don't want to look at other facets of a situation, or they're just not able to. And so they stay so focused on this is how it is, this is how it's going to be, that they either miss out on a solution that would make the problem go away a lot more quickly, or they just stay stuck in an old pattern until the problem finally begins to hurt them and they have to pay attention. Now, elephants are emotional. They have all the same emotions as humans. They express joy, they express love, compassion, altruism, sadness, rage, they get really ragey, grief. And as a result, elephant people are also very emotional. They can get carried away by joy, and when they are happy and they are on cloud nine. And they can just as easily be destroyed by rage. When they hate with everything in them. Elephant people hold a grudge. Elephants, in fact, are one of the only species known to seek retribution against somebody who has hurt them. And so elephant people have a very hard time letting go of old wounds. And they will just keep going over them and over them and over them and over them in their minds without letting them go, and then they can't move forward. And so for the elephant person to be optimally happy in their lives, they need to learn the value of forgiveness, not for the sake of the person who hurt them, but for themselves. There's a really great saying, not forgiving someone is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. elephant people, it would be in their best interest to keep that in mind. All of the grudges and unhappiness and wounds that they are holding on to, the only person it's hurting is them. Now, the other feature we think of when we think of elephants is the tusks. And some have tusks, some don't, but we do associate with elephants, and most of us know that elephants have been cruelly hunted for their tusks, for the ivory. The tusks will be chopped out and the elephant left to die in a really awful, awful, painful way. And the tusks are actually the elephant's incisors, the eye teeth. And what this represents in humans, our incisors give us the ability to bite off small pieces of information, to digest it, to make it digestible, chewable, so that we can process new situations, so that we can be open-minded, so that we can change and go with the flow and be open to new experiences. If we didn't have this ability to break them down into small pieces we could process, everything would be overwhelming for us, and we would just stay stuck. So for elephant people, the consequence here is that they have got to stay flexible. Elephants like tradition. They like to do the same things over and over again. Elephant herds will retrace the same paths generations after generations after generations. Elephant people don't really like to change. But if they refuse to be open to change, if they refuse to be open-minded, if they refuse to look at new information, it will literally kill them on a spiritual level, sometimes on a physical level, if they just hunker down and stay miserable. So elephant people must always be aware that if a situation starts to feel stifling or uncomfortable or dangerous, that they need to look at ways to either change it or to get out. This is especially important in situations of domestic violence. Elephant people are so loving and so sweet that they often get taken advantage of. And if they are in one of these places where they don't want to change and they can't accept the idea of taking a risk, doing something new, then they can stay in a situation where they are being wounded until it literally kills them. So if you're an elephant person in a situation of domestic violence at this time, it is definitely time to seek help. One of the things elephant teaches is that we must seek help from those that love us. And so if this is you, this is incredibly important for you at this time. It could literally save your life. Elephant herds, as I sort of mentioned at the beginning, are very matriarchal. In fact, they are matriarchal. They're led by a single female, usually the oldest and the largest. And the whole herd is pretty much women and little boys. The male elephants leave the herd between the ages of 8 to 15 and go off on their own. And so these herds are roaming groups of women who are incredibly loving, incredibly compassionate, incredibly nurturing. To be an elephant person means to serve, to want to serve. You have a hunger to take care of those around you. You probably love children. You're an excellent parent or an excellent auntie or uncle. But you know how to care for those around you. And if somebody in the room is crying, you are the first person to run over and offer a shoulder. But as I mentioned, this also makes elephant people prone to being doormats, because everybody knows they want to serve and they want to take care of each other, and so they can be leaned on way too much. And so for an elephant person, a big part of their life lesson is first off learning to set boundaries, learning how to say no when it gets to the point where they are not comfortable and don't want to serve anymore. The other thing that they get to learn is to give themselves the same love and affection that they so readily shower on other people. They are just as worthy and deserving of being loved as anybody else that they would take care of. Now, the matriarchal herds has another consequence for elephant people, which is that elephant people do not do well in isolation. They are so emotional, as I mentioned, that they often let these emotions run away with them. They're the kind of people who will send out crazed messages in moments of anger that they later have to take back. Or they will make a decision out of joy because everything just feels so good. And then that decision comes back to bite them. Elephant people really need to learn that they have to roll through these emotions. And once they're off the emotional high or low, then it's a good time to make a decision. But they need groups around them to whom they can vent. or who can help them balance out. Elephant people tend to need women in their lives, whether it's a mother, an aunt, a sister, a group of these people, female friends even, or even men with a more feminine orientation or more feminine jobs, such as something in the culinary field, which is traditionally feminine, or craft field, things like that. But without these people, the elephant person just does not do very well. If they don't have friends and family to fill this role for them, they need to be in a career where they can have this kind of relationship with their coworkers. Otherwise, they're just not going to do very well. Now, as far as elephants go, they are probably the most loving, compassionate, self-sacrificing totem out there. They are really, really a beautiful one. And they're so powerful because they have so much potentiality to experience the world on an intuitive level. So the first thing, elephant people, you have to do is, again, learn to honor yourself first. Learn to trust your intuition and not what you see. Learn to listen to your gut and take care of yourselves. And you'll probably be deliriously happy and make a really wonderful impact on the world. If this hasn't answered your questions and you think you are an elephant person, or again, if you resonate with the male elephant, the lone elephant, please feel free to contact me. You can reach me at my website, which is www.ravenlightholistic.healing.com. I maintain a Facebook page at Raven Light Holistic Healing. I have a blog. You can get me back here on YouTube. And I am always happy to schedule a session for you for further clarification. All of you have a wonderful day. Cheers, my darlings.